Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody is doing well today and this weekend. Let's have a great weekend today. I want to talk to you about something a little bit different because I don't want to make the same video every week. And this is the downside of collecting Masterpiece Transformers. It seems a little odd. Like my favorite thing to collect is Masterpiece Transformers. I get the most excited about getting a new Masterpiece Transformer. But yet, I'm going to make a video bashing collecting Masterpiece. Well, not really. It's just being realistic with the downside of the hobby. And if you're realistic and you can accept the downside of it, obviously, that's a good thing. But let's get into talking about this. And let's have a little bit of fun with it. Even though it may sound negative. Coming up. Alright, so the first one that's a downside is also a plus. It's a big strength for Masterpiece, but can be a negative. But I'm going to go into the strength aspect of it, and that is options. There are more options in Masterpiece Transformer collecting than any other line. Just, it doesn't exist anywhere else. Hasbro, you could say, well, they made this many Springers over the years. Yes, but they weren't all competing to more or less be the same thing. They really weren't. You know, there's so many options these days, and you can look back and say, well, even a Cosmos, who is really a small character, has several decent, great options out there if you want a Cosmos. One of the problems is that we really don't have the best way to say which one is best. I mean, a lot of people are going to say Fans Toys, which we're going to talk more about that down the road. Obviously, there's the Fan Toys, FANBOYS, and that's going to be a lot of what you're going to hear. Wait for the Fans Toys. But we get the options for all these figures, and it really is, what do you like the most? And it might not be what influencers like the most either, which is another thing we're going to have to talk about. But with that, the downside to it is trying to figure out the one figure you want, because most collectors don't want two of every character. They want one of every character, and they want the one that they're going to perceive as the best. Now, I try to show all the different versions I have in my videos, my reviews, and I also tell you which one I like the most. But then just because I prefer, let's say I like, in this one, I like the Fans Toys one the most in this one, but I like the Takara when it comes to hoist. So, I mean, there's different preferences, but my preference might not match yours, or whoever I'm watching, I might disagree with them, or I might take their word for it and pick up something that I don't like. So that becomes a downside. Now, it's a downside that I'm willing to live with, to have so many options that are out there, but it can get confusing, and especially for people starting today. Let's say you just started collecting, a lot of this is confusing, and a lot of this is like, wait, who made what, and what's the third-party name? Wow, the third-party names. I'm just gonna leave that in the options. That can get confusing in itself to especially new collectors, and even old-time collectors who don't always refer to the third-party by the third-party unofficial names. But who made the best Optimus Prime so far? I'll have to say, I'm gonna give that to Magic Square. Yeah, there's gonna be people that disagree with me and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, well, but I trusted you, Mike, and I don't like Magic Square as much as MP44. Find a good price on MP44 these days, that'll be tough. But the KOs are still pretty affordable. Now, getting into the next topic here, and this is availability. Now, one of the problems with having so many options is that companies do not keep all of their figures available at retail at all times. So you've really got to get it while they got it. I'm going to show some stuff here in a bit. Some of the higher priced retailers might have stuff in stock, but Show Z, TH in the support your favorite reviewer to help the channel out if you go buy some Show Z. But Show Z is usually the lowest price, and I'll be honest, they'll do the same things everyone else. They get low on stock, they might up their price a little bit at the end. It is what it is. capitalism and all that, but still, for the most part, I'm finding a much better value here than I find anywhere else, and I'm very happy and satisfied with that, and I love being able to, I guess, brag about that, but let everybody else in on the secret. But downside is availability. If I don't jump on it myself while it's available or pre-order it and all that kind of stuff, then I won't get it. I'll miss out. Availability. And yeah, X-Transbots. A lot of X-Transbot stuff. Takara stuff sells out too. It sells out, and we're going to get into more discussions about that one. But all this stuff that sells out, you can't just easily go get it. And I think the worst is Fans Toys. When they sell out, the price goes through the roof, and we will be talking a little bit about that kind of stuff down the road in one of these other points. But availability, so you get excited about a figure, because that happened to me. I finally jumped on the Minibot bandwagon, and the X-Transbots Arcos was sold out. A $60 figure that I felt wasn't worth $60 or $70 or whatever it was going for at retail skyrocketed to $150 almost overnight once they sold out everywhere. And I just couldn't see myself paying that, so I waited for a reissue, and I'm glad I did. The next one is breakage, number 3. The next downside to Masterpiece. I would say that you can break any figure out there. You can break a Hasbro, Takara, you can break a Magic Square Legends, you can break a New Age figure, you can break them all. But the chances, the likelihood of making a mistake transforming a Magic Square, the part's going to pop off, you can pop it back on. A Hasbro, part's going to pop off, you can pop it back on. For the most part. Now, not all of them are like that, but that's how most of it is like. But when it's a... Say, I broke this Fans Toys figure. They sent me the part, I fixed it, I had to tap out the pin. It was not an easy fix, by the way. And that's the other thing. It's not an easy fix when they break. When you get the parts in the mail, it's not like pop in, pop out. It is a serious amount of work, and trying to not strip too much paint. You're going to strip some paint. You're going to do some damage to it, but it is what it is if you want it fully functional. But yeah, I broke this Dune Rider, and then we had, of course, the horrible issue with lock, which people still complain about X-Transbots more about the breakage with X-Transbots. I actually put some thought into this. Why do X-Transbots break so much more often than others? And it is two things. It's the design, and it's the thinness of whatever material they're using. They're designing it to be too thin at certain points. The materials can't handle that, and they break. And that's like every single breakage I see. The entire upper body's dependent on one pin, one piece of plastic, and it's usually plastic. And then you just have a torso and some legs. So, but with this guy here, there were a lot of issues with it, a lot of breakages, a lot of inabilities to transform. But let me know down below what's the most modern figure that you broke or you've seen has breakage issues. That is an issue with Masterpiece. So next one on my list, I guess I call it number 4, transformations. So the downside to Masterpiece Transformers is a transformation that's going to be more complex, but sometimes it's way too complex. I'm trying to keep some of these pictures, not all of them, relevant to the times, as this is a new video from Fans Toys. I did watch, skimmed over it to kind of see what I'm in for on this. I'm not going to say that it's a ridiculous transformation, but there's a lot of steps to it. I mean, it is very involved, probably more involved than it should have to be to make this happen, but it's what they chose to do, and it's, I guess, in their mind, why they feel their product is the best, because it's going to look best in both modes, because you had all these parts and pieces moving around, swapping around. On the transformation for, I was just transforming back some Hasbro figures, and I did 3 of them, and I timed it, and it was about 2.5 minutes a piece for what I feel is a Commander class figure that's a pretty complex for Hasbro. 2.5 minutes. I can't think of any Masterpiece figure I could transform in 2.5 minutes. I mean, maybe 7 to 10 for some of the shorter, easier ones, but it does get pretty complex. And then when you get into the MP44, this is a 6-year-old video, by the way. MP44 is probably still king of the most complex, unnecessarily complex transformations out there. I'm not sure which one you think's the most complex, and a lot of people had problems with theirs, and I do think it's because of the involved transformation. The pain rub was because of the involved transformation and the way you handle it, and then I still would like the KO. It's the KO is not the Takara, but the KO does not hold very well in alt mode for me. And then here we go with another picture of that. But yeah, transformations. There's no way I'm transforming this Prime in 2.5 minutes, or anybody. Now we're going to get into the next one here, number 5, I guess. Preferences. Other people's preferences. And this is where I talk about FANBOYS fanboys. You got FANBOYS fanboys out there that nothing's better than Fans Toys. You've got X-Transbots. Well, there's groups dedicated to X-Transbots. I give X-Transbots a fair shake because I like the aesthetic the most on a lot of their characters. And I pull this one up because I'll say this. The Ocular Max one looks great. Everyone says great things about it. But I passed on it. I can't buy everything that comes out. Fans Toys, it looks good, but I feel like it's too bulky. And I think X-Transbots is the best balance of all of them. But I do wish he would have bigger shoulder pieces. And I really think that we could get like a clip-on piece and make it better. And that would probably solidify it as being the best. And I still like it the most. All modes on it are the best. But that's just my preference. And if you were to have Fans Toys in one hand and X-Transbots in the other, you might disagree with me. Might. Everyone has their preferences. And like myself, I still like Takara's RC the most. A lot of people will swear by the Fans Toys one as being the best. I still think in bot mode, Leia looks good and I like her size. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things to look at. But some people with their diehard Fans Toys, some people are diehard official only. You will not nothing. If Takara didn't make it, then they don't want it. Well, you're not going to get much going forward, that's for sure. And then, of course, you do have the people that love the KOs, like myself. I kind of love everything. The next point on my list here, I guess number 6, G1 rules. Masterpiece. Now, that's not a downside for me. It's a massive upside because that's what I want the most. But when it comes to the entire community, I see a lot of comments and, you know, a lot of people that are like, Mike, are you crazy? G1's not the best. Well, yes, I am crazy, but I still like G1 the most, and I do understand why. If you came in to this because you like the Bayverse stuff, and you don't get much of that in the Masterpiece. You get some, but you're not getting everything, and you're not getting 5 options of the same figure, 6 options of the same figure. It just is what it is. That's not where the market has shifted to, and it's almost few and far between, and it's almost, if you want the Bayverse stuff, you're almost having to settle for non-transforming at this point for a lot of the new releases. So there's still some transforming stuff coming out, but when you come to, say, Beast Wars, there's a lot of Beast Wars stuff going on. And with that, I gotta say that I don't want to offend anybody, but again, I don't care. Beast Wars is not part of G1. A lot of people want to twist and contort the fact that they've had that couple of episodes from the Ark and all that. It's not G1. I love the show, and I love collecting the Masterpiece versions of this, but it's not G1. Still, with that, there's a lot of things that I'm never going to see at Masterpiece because they're not G1, and G1 is the preference in Masterpiece for most of the creators out there. So that's kind of why we're in there. It also sells the best, but that might shift in the future. I'm just talking about right now in 2025. Oh my gosh, Becky, number 7 is price. That is big prices there. And that is a downside. Like, if you were to take pretty much any character and say, what would be the cheapest Masterpiece option? What would be the cheapest Hasbro option? And what would be the cheapest Legends option, across the board, Masterpiece is going to cost the most. And you might find some one-offs because it was a nice sale, and then you might find some one-offs if you're like looking at the secondary market and kind of like runabout and run amok that were commanding a $100 price point until more showed up at a Walmart. I don't know if they're going to continue commanding that or not, but with that, there were some offshoots there. But if you just look at the MSRP, if you look at the retail pricing on this, Masterpiece is going to almost always be more. And we're not talking, oh, it's like $10 more. We're talking double to 4 times more. All right, so here's the proof. These are actual recorded sale prices or prices of items that sold at TF Source of these items, and it's quite expensive. It's very expensive. And you can look at this and see the prices. $400 for a Starscream, $259 for a Bumblebee. Those aren't the best prices. The best prices you're going to find at Shozy, and maybe there'll be other places that are similar and close, but I trust Shozy the most. But with that, yes, definitely going to be paying a lot more for Masterpiece than Hasbro or Legend. The last point I really want to bring up is a downside, but it's also an upside. The knockoffs are fantastic figures, usually improvements over the original, but for half the price or even less than half the price. The problem is reselling them down the road and trying to get your money back out of them. People don't want used knockoff figures unless they're super ultra cheap. It's really a weird thing that I've noticed as of late, and I've just never sold any of my knockoffs that I can remember. I look them up and I say, can I get my money back out of them when I paid? And I'm like, nope. Someone somewhere is selling them for $10 less than I paid. And I'm like, well, I don't want to sell them for $20 each. So I'll just keep them and use them for videos and stuff. But there's little to no resale value for most of the knockoffs that are out there. And that's just the way it is. And people say, well, who cares about resale value? Well, when you tie up, I've heard anywhere from 20 grand to 200 grand in a collection, I think you should be concerned about that. So obviously, this video is not going to be all-inclusive and have absolutely every downside or negative collecting masterpiece that could be thought of in the world. So, with that, what do you guys think is a negative downside to collecting masterpiece? And let's get it all out there. Let's air the grievances and still enjoy our hobby. Like, subscribe, have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Hanger out.